we've been striving for over 30 years to create a conducive environment for micro-entrepreneurs, particularly at the startup phase. So I think of this platform as a rare treat. To have someone like a top policy advisor like Anantha Nageshwaran not only have a sweeping knowledge of everything from macro to the micro, but actually spend time and interest in focusing on something like the micro enterprise. I think these are rare times. And definitely, I think the CIIL Center, Dinesh and CII has started is going to create a lot of spotlight, shine a lot of spotlight on micro enterprises. Having said that, I think some of the challenges we face, particularly, and I'm going to address for the starting phase of these micro enterprises. We create about 10,000 new startups every year. If you go into the hinterlands of India, into the small towns and aspirational districts, frankly, people have no clue as to what it means to set up an enterprise, leave alone how to go about it. They think small, they start small, and if they are lucky, they survive. So, for example, what is it that we can do to create awareness about the viability of a micro-enterprise? In a district like Kalahandi, for example, we did some business idea contests. We created awareness camps, and we did mentoring and counseling. That year, the percentage of more than 20% more enterprises were started in that very first year because of that. And not only that, the average loan size in the Kalahandi area was about 1 lakh because the banks just didn't have the confidence. After we did this, the average loan size now is 5 lakhs within that very first year. So I believe that awareness, particularly we are talking about Ladakh, we are talking about the Northeast, we are talking about even Lakshadweep and Andaman, why not? We should be thinking about this. So why not the government have a awareness campaign like a Swachh Bharat or a Jan Dhan Yojana campaign? Why not have such a campaign to create awareness about the micro-entrepreneurs? I think that kind of a knowledge on a wider scale would be useful. Second, the government has been, I think in 2025, they increased the investment limit and the turnover limit in how you define a micro-enterprise. Now, why that is good? Because it brings more people into the ambit. What really happens is when you're talking about the startup phase, the challenges and needs of these people get lost. The average loan size of a mudra today, all three combined, is 74,000 rupees. We are talking about now 2.5 crores as the investment and 10 crores as the turnover limit for definition. So in some sense, what happens to all these people? What are their challenges and what do they need? Perhaps the Odisha government, I know a year ago, created a category called nano entrepreneurs. So I don't know whether we should go on adding more categories, but nevertheless, the startup phase, when you keep increasing the upper limit, does have this problem. Another more broader request or recommendation is the fact that very often we talk about subsidies, we talk about GST compliance issues and so on, and we talk in terms of size. Can we move to a situation where if we were to incubate a unit, whether it is in a rural area or whether it is in IIT Roorkee, doesn't matter, when we incubate, can we think of a time-bound type of support rather than a size-based support? So within the first 3 years, you have practically no compliances to be bothered with. You get access to capital, which is easy, which is relatively easier to get. And on top of it, all of your needs and your training and your mentoring all gets taken care of in an intensive manner. What then we do is we focus all of our efforts in the first 3 years, and thereafter we assume that these people have got the capacity already built in them to grow. But once we don't do that, then people who have been there for 10 years are making use of the same subsidies, whereas the people who are in the beginning are not getting enough subsidies or enough support of the kind that they need. So I think these are the two broader ones. Of course, the issue about the mudra loan size being too small and not, you need at least 5 to 6 lakhs today to create the 10 jobs. All of our entrepreneurs create 10 jobs direct and about 40 jobs indirect. over the last 30, 40 years is what we've seen, but they need an initial capital investment of at least 4 to 5 lakhs to begin with. The second thing, of course, is when you want to integrate mentoring. I believe that we are talking about training institutes and so on. Can we adopt the same attitude that a Silicon Valley enterprise creates? Because when you start, one of the first things that the venture capitalist does is to provide mentoring. Without that, it's a twin support, both the VC and the mentoring. But somehow when we come to these kind of startups and micro enterprises, we don't understand the importance of mentoring. So we have been doing in the last several years, embedding mentoring into the institutional framework. Any touch point to which a micro entrepreneur will start going to, whether it be in educational institutes or whether it be banks, district industry commissions. So for example, the mentoring program, which is again structured, the CII has said before that we should be looking at not these micro enterprises as welfare recipients, but we must capacity build them from the very beginning. If you were to take that attitude, the mentoring program that we have been adopted by IIT Roorkee has been just as successful in the government polytechnic in Begusarai in Bihar. So I think we need to start thinking about micro enterprises as poor cousins. We need to be thinking not of startups, and then there is micro enterprise, and within the micro enterprise, there is the absolute startup phase. A good beginning is well done, half done. So if you don't start them well, subsistence businesses are not going to scale.